Hi, my name is Samar, but I also go by Sam or First Time Panner. Any of those that you want to call me, you can. This will be an update for my ongoing check-in for my pans in my collection. And this is the third of these that I've filmed. So I film one about every 6 months. I try. I don't know. Um, but basically, I film this about every 6 months, and once I feel like I have enough to justify dedicating a whole video to. So this will be my update for January 2024, and I have my January candle here, which is dark rum and oak, and this one doesn't have too much of a scent. I'm not just saying that because I'm sick, because I'm not even sick anymore. This one just doesn't have that much of a scent, but it smells good. So I just have to have it burning for a while. So this might go pretty quickly, but that's not why you're here. You're here for the pans. So what I do in these videos is I first talk about updates for everything that was in the previous video, and then I get onto the new stuff that I have. And some of these are repeat items, so I will save those for last so I don't spoil. Sorry, my stomach's growling. So I don't spoil them, and then you have to wait like 10 minutes to hear me talk about the thing that you just saw. So I'll talk about the stuff that I actually don't have with me right now. The first is my L'Oreal True Match Powder Foundation in the shade W6 Sun Beige. I have one of those in pretty much every video that I do, except for now, because even though I have one still, like a replacement, I haven't opened it yet because of what I'm about to show you. But basically I had a pan in that last time, a very big pan, and then I finished that like a month after filming that video. I was kind of like waiting to finish that powder just to film that video, so it went very quickly after I filmed it. So that's been gone for a while. Another product that has come and gone, which is also another face powder, is my Sephora MAC Hybrid Powder. This is something that I've talked about in countless videos, and it's just, if you haven't seen, it's just a combination of a MAC powder foundation and a Sephora powder foundation that I mixed together because one was too dark and warm, the other was too light and cool. So I mixed them together, and I did have pan in the last video on, I think it was, yeah, it was the MAC powder. But since they're mixed together now, I kind of just have to mention them together. So since that video, I combined the two powders, then I completely finished one compact worth of that powder, and now what I just showed you is the second compact. I also have a tiny bit, I forgot to mention this in my 24 and 2024 video, but I do have a tiny bit in another magnetic pan that's in a Z palette. But once I'm planning on repressing this very soon because it's a mess in here. I also do have pan that's from like where it broke, but I've since used all the powder that was in that spot, so I guess technically I have another pan. But anyway, I'm planning on repressing that again because it's a mess in there, and adding the rest of that powder. So once I add the rest of that powder, that will be the final like batch of what was the MAC slash Sephora powders. So by the next time I film one of these updates, this will definitely be all gone. I won't have to deal with it anymore. So that's where this powder is. Last time I also had a pan in my e.l.f. bronzer from the contour palette, and I can show you that this is completely gone now. I finished it up last year right before I went on my trip, so this was an empty in December of 2023, and yeah, I'm really happy. It was my first ever powder bronzer empty, first bronzer empty in general. But yeah, that was really exciting for me. Last, I have my Sigma Ambiance palette. So last time I had one pan in this palette, which was in the shade Basque right here, and as you can see, I have greatly expanded that pan. It's the largest pan in this palette, but as you can see, I have two new pans in this palette, so I guess I'll just start talking about the new pans now since you can see them very clearly. Very soon after I filmed that video, I hit a pan in the shade Candlelight, which it's kind of hard to see because it's a shimmer, but there, you can see the pan there. And since I hit that pan, I've just been expanding it. Definitely not as quick as Basque, but yeah, I'm kind of like wearing down the rest of the surface of this now. Sorry, excuse my voice. I sound like congested, and also it's very dry here, so I have to keep clearing my throat. But yeah, I'm not really expanding the pan that quickly, so because I'm just like using my finger kind of across the whole pan. But yeah, now I do have a good decent sized pan in there, and I'm really happy about that. And then also, I think like the day before I left for my trip last year, so I just barely made it. If you watch my Pan That Palette finale, this was my Pan That Palette for last year, you'll know that I hit pan in the shade Enrich, and that was a very satisfying pan because I worked on that so much last year. And yeah, I have 3 pans in this palette, which, considering this was one of my palettes for my year-long Pan That Palette project, it's not super impressive, but the Sigma formula is really really hard to hit pan on. And I was working on a lot of other eyeshadows, blah blah blah. I've talked about this so much, but I'm really happy basically to have more pans in this palette. I know I'll be able to hit more pans on this because I have a really good dip on this shade, which is, I think, Days. So hopefully next time I will have a pan in this shade. But yeah, for now, I'm totally happy with where I am with my Sigma Ambiance. And as I mentioned before, in my e.l.f. contour palette, I have pan on the contour shade. I'm so happy. This is kind of a spoiler for my That's So 2000s project, but also not, because I made it very clear that by the time I filmed this update for my pans in my collection, that I would have a pan in the contour shade, and I've been working on this contour shade in this palette for so long. It was about time. This is my oldest powder contour. It's actually, I think, my oldest contour that I have in my collection in general. Before this, all I had was an ABH brow powder that I was using as a contour, but then once I got this was pretty much the only thing I was using. So I like should have had pan on this a long time ago, but now that I finally do, I'm really happy. I also forgot to mention, I am planning on, now that I have pan on this, sorry, that's shiny. I'm planning on combining these 2 shades since it's the only 2 things left in this palette. So I'm planning on just making like a bronzer shade for myself out of these 2. So I won't really be expanding the pan in this contour shade. I'll kind of like ruin the pan, I guess, to sacrifice it to make a new bronzer shade for myself, but I mean, I think it's worth it. So this specific pan will not be featured in my next video, but this powder will still be in my collection somehow. Alright, now on to items that have never been in this series so far. The first pan that I hit after filming the last video, which was like, I think actually it's either this one or Candlelight from the Ambiance palette, but both of these were hit within the week after filming the last pan video. So the other shade that was so close to pan last time was the shade Hit It Big from my ColourPop Lucky Penny palette. So here's that pan. These pans and these ColourPop palettes, you probably know, they're so deep, especially the matte shades are so hard to hit pan on. I didn't know that going into trying to pan one of those shades, just like I didn't know how deep the Sigma pans were. So definitely 2023 was a struggle for me as far as like trying to hit pan. But you know, I got there in the end, so I'm really happy to have a pan and a ColourPop palette. And even though I haven't used this since I hit pan on it, I'm sure I'll come back to this eventually, but I've used this so many times. I'm happy with the use that I got on it. I also hit pan on a Natasha, on a Natasha Denona single. This is the Shade Outer Eyelid 321M. It's a metallic. And this is from the Glam palette, but it's just a little single, and this was in my Graveyard Project pan. Yeah, everything that I've hit pan on, by the way, was in a project. I'm not just hitting pans on random items. This takes a lot of effort and intention for me. So anyway, this was in my Graveyard Project pan to hit pan, and I did that just in the nick of time. It's a very tiny pan, but it's pan nonetheless. And I had a really good time using this. It's very versatile and it's something that I'll keep in my collection, but ever since I hit pan on it, I haven't used it. So this will just be something I come back to later. And that's another pan in my collection. I have pan on two of my ColourPop Super Shock shadows, which is really, really nice because I have so many of these. I probably have like 12 by now, and I hardly ever use them because I've just been using my palettes, or I'll use eyeshadow sticks or something, but I rarely like reach for my like individual potted shadows. So I'm really glad that I have pan on two of my Super Shocks. The first one that I hit was in the shade Moonwalk, and the second one, which is a spoiler for my The Office Project pan, was Rooftop Cocktails. I hit pan on both of these in my The Office Project pan. So if you keep up with that on Instagram, sorry, spoiler, I hit pan on this, and I'll show you what they actually look like in the pot. Moonwalk was very easy for me to hit pan on. It actually only took me 2 uses in the project to hit pan on. I had used this like a handful of times before, but this took me less than 10 uses to hit pan, and then I did use it one more time after hitting pan to like just get it to show a little bit better. But this is what it's looking like. This is my favorite Super Shock. And then here is Rooftop Cocktails. The dip looks different because I was using this when I had really long nails, so I couldn't like swirl my finger around really. But yeah, I'm really happy to have just like pans on a bunch of single shadows. But that's it for this video. I wish I had pan on my Sephora Blues Beauty palette, which was my other palette for last year's Pan That Palette project. Unfortunately, I don't, but I am so close to hitting pan on one of the shades in there, and then I have really big dips on 2 other shades in that palette. I know for sure that will be featured in my next video in this series, so check out my channel in 6 months for an update on that. But yeah, that's it for this video. I'm looking a little run down right now because it's the very end of the day pretty much, but I just wanted to film something while I had this eyeshadow on. I think it's really beautiful. It's using an ABH single, 2 of the shades from one of my Pat McGrath quads, and then the Alchemy shade from my Nabla Berry palette, and I really love it. yeah, so that's it. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to go wash this off my face now. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video, and I hope you have a great day or night, whatever time it is for you. Yeah, bye.